Alright, so now we're going to do a little bit of review, kind of recap all of the stuff that we've learned so far with Trig. It's been a lot. Don't get me wrong, this unit's not over yet. There's still more to learn. But we want to kind of take a step back for a minute and make sure we understand what we've learned so far. So, this is going to be a lot of you doing practice and then checking your work with me. Because none of this is new. So without using a calculator, anytime you see without using a calculator, that means that you can probably do this on the unit circle. Hint. Find theta in both radians and degrees, where theta is between 0 and 360 degrees, including 0 but not 360, and 0 and 2 pi, including 0 and not 2 pi. So do that for these 6 examples. Pause the video, unpause when you are ready to check your work. Alright, so for cosecant of theta equals negative root 2, I should end up with 5 pi fourths, 7 pi fourths, 225 degrees, and 315 degrees. If you don't remember how to do that, well, what we're doing is I'm looking on the unit circle, and I know cosecant relates to the y values. So where do the y values, and specifically it's the reciprocal of the y values. So where do the y values have a root 2 in them and a negative? That's what I'm looking for. So I see that at 5 pi fourths, the y value is negative root 2 over 2. The reciprocal of that is negative root 2. If you don't believe me, you can prove it to yourself. But because I'm told to do this without a calculator, I know it has to be something I can look up. Also, I know that 1 over root 2 is root 2 over 2 once it's rationalized. And that's what I have here. So I see negative root 2 over 2 at 5 pi fourths and 225 degrees, and at 7 pi fourths and 315 degrees. So that's how I come up with my answer: 5 pi fourths, 7 pi fourths, 225, and 315. Where does the cosine of theta equal 1? So again, I look at my unit circle. I know cosine is the x value. There's only one location where the x value is positive 1. That is going to be at 0 radians and 0 degrees. Remember, I am not including 360 and 2 pi, so here I only have those two answers. Where does secant of theta equal 2? That's going to be at pi thirds, 5 pi thirds, 60 degrees, and 300 degrees. Secant is the reciprocal of the x value. So the reciprocal of 2 is 1/2. So I'm looking for where is the x value 1/2. That's right here at pi thirds, and right here at 5 pi thirds. Tangent of theta equals negative root 3. So tangent and cotangent can be the most difficult because sometimes you might have to do a little bit of work, depending on how good you are at doing dividing fractions in your head. So if you're not very good at dividing fractions in your head, that's okay. Let me give you a strategy. If tangent of theta equals negative root 3, or if it equals positive root 3, the negative in this case is that'll come into play at the very end. So let's just focus on the fact that it equals root 3. In order for it to equal root 3, I know I'm dividing two numbers. One of those numbers needs to have a root 3 in it to start. So when I look around my unit circle, look at x and y values that have a root 3 in them somewhere. So for instance, at pi 6, pi thirds, 2 pi thirds, 5 pi 6, 7 pi 6, 4 pi thirds, 5 pi thirds, and 11 pi 6. All of those have a root 3 somewhere in either the x or y coordinate. Now, this one's negative. If it's negative, I know that I'm focusing on the second and the fourth quadrant, because those are the two quadrants that tangent will be negative in, since one of the x or y values is negative in those two quadrants. Okay, so let's focus on the second quadrant. Either 2 pi thirds or 5 pi 6, one of those has to be my answer. So if I'm not good at doing dividing fractions in my head, pick one of those values and divide y by x. If you get the answer that you're looking for, then that's your angle. If you don't, by default, it has to be the other angle. So you only have to do this once. Okay, so that's what I'm showing you that I did here. I chose the 5 pi 6th angle. I did because I knew it wasn't going to work. But I divided y by x, and so 1/2 over negative root 3 over 2 becomes 1/2 times 2 over negative root 3, which becomes negative 1 over root 3, which becomes negative root 3 over 3. Negative root 3 over 3 is not the same as negative root 3. Therefore, it is not 5 pi 6. So therefore, it must be 2 pi thirds. If you want, you can divide the y value and the x value at 2 pi thirds, root 3 over 2 by negative 1/2, and prove it to yourself, or you can understand that it has to be that answer. The other nice thing is once I know that it's 2 pi thirds, I know that it has to be the angle in the fourth quadrant with the same reference angle. 2 pi thirds has a reference angle of pi thirds, 5 pi thirds also has a reference angle of pi thirds. Therefore, I don't have to do this twice. So I know my answers are 2 pi thirds and 5 pi thirds, or 120 degrees and 300 degrees. Sine of theta equals 0. Sine is the y values. Where do the y values equal 0? That is at 0 and pi, or 0 degrees and 180 degrees. Cotangent theta equals negative 1. Cotangent is x divided by y. If I divide two numbers and get a negative 1, they have to be the same value but opposite signs. So that's at 3 pi fourths and 7 pi fourths. Or, I'm sorry, yeah, that's a miswrote. That should be a 7. Sorry. I wrote the correct angle in degrees. So 3 pi 4, 7 pi 4 is 135 degrees and 315 degrees. Alright, for the next problems, I want you to find the reference angle and one positive and one negative coterminal angle for each. So I want you to do that for these 4 angles. Pause the video, do that, unpause when you're ready to check your work. Remember, you are finding a reference angle and one positive and one negative coterminal angle. Go ahead and pause. Alright, so for 17 pi fifths, we're going to add 2 pi, which is 10 pi fifths, and I get 27 pi fifths. That is a positive coterminal angle. And we're going to subtract 2 pi. So I get 7 pi fifths, also a positive coterminal angle. I need to find a negative one, so I'm going to subtract 2 pi again, and I get negative 3 pi fifths. So here is a negative coterminal angle, and both of those are positive coterminal angles. How do I find the reference angle? Well, here is the only example where I actually drew the original angle. So 17 pi fifths is what you see in red. The reference angle is the angle in blue. So to actually find it, though, I used one of the coterminal angles. So 7 pi fifths and 17 pi fifths are coterminal angles of each other, therefore they will have the same reference angle since they are the same location. So 7 pi fifths minus pi is 2 pi fifths. So my reference angle is 2 pi fifths. For negative 23 pi sevenths, add 2 pi, I get negative 9 pi sevenths is a negative coterminal angle. Add 2 pi again, I get 5 pi sevenths is a positive coterminal angle. I used this coterminal angle to find the reference angle, which is going to be 2 pi sevenths. 478 degrees, subtract 360, I get 118. That is a positive coterminal angle. Subtract 360 again, I get 242 degrees, negative 242 degrees. That is a negative coterminal angle. I used the coterminal angle of 118 degrees to find the reference angle here, which is 62 degrees. 21 pi sixteenths, add 2 pi, I get 53 pi sixteenths. That is a positive coterminal angle. Subtract 2 pi, I get negative 11 pi sixteenths. That is a negative coterminal angle. I drew in 21 pi sixteenths. Here is the reference angle. That is 5 pi sixteenths. Next, evaluate or find the exact value of the following trig functions. Again, we will be using the unit circle for this. Don't forget there's one down there. So I want you to do that for all 7 of these. Pause the video, unpause when you are ready to check your answers. Okay, sine of 3 pi fourths. We look on our unit circle at 3 pi fourths. Sine is the y value, so I have root 2 over 2. Cosecant of 7 pi sixths. We look on our unit circle, 7 pi 6. Cosecant is the reciprocal of the y value, The reciprocal of negative 1/2 is negative 2. The tangent of negative 3 pi halves. Well, where's negative 3 pi halves? I can use the idea of coterminal angles and recognize that negative 3 pi halves and pi halves are the same thing. So I look on the unit circle at pi halves. Tangent is y divided by x. What is 1 divided by 0? It is undefined. So the tangent of negative 3 pi halves is undefined. The secant of 5 pi, and pi are coterminal angles. So the secant of pi is the reciprocal of the x value. The x value is negative 1. Therefore, the secant of 5 pi is negative 1. The secant of 17 pi fourths is the same as the secant of pi fourths. Those are coterminal angles. At pi fourths, the reciprocal of the x value is going to be root 2. Cosine of negative 13 pi halves. Negative 13 pi halves is a coterminal angle of 3 pi halves. Cosine is the x value at 3 pi halves. The x value is 0. And the cotangent of negative 22 pi thirds. Negative 22 pi thirds is a coterminal angle of 2 pi thirds. So I look at 2 pi thirds on the unit circle. Cotangent is x divided by y. So negative 1/2 over root 3 over 2 is negative root 3 over 3 once I simplify and rationalize. Next one, given that theta is 130 degrees and r, which is a radius, is 2.5 inches, find the arc length formed from this central angle. Pause the video. Hint, you are using your arc length definition of a radian equation. Unpause when you're ready to check your work. Okay, so we're using our equation theta equals s over r. This was our definition of a radian. If the arc length and the radius are the same, that equals 1 radian. This is also the basis of the circumference equation. However, remember that theta this equation only works if theta is in radians. Since we are given theta in degrees, we are going to convert it to radians. So I multiply 130 degrees by pi over 180, I get 13 pi 18ths. That's a radian angle. Multiply both sides by r, theta times r equals s, so 13 pi 18ths times 2.5 is going to be s, so I get 65 pi over 36 inches, or 5.672 inches. I did not specify whether I wanted an exact answer or rounded to 3 decimal places, so either in this case would be correct. Next one, given the secant of theta is 4 and theta is an acute angle, find the values of the remaining 5 trig functions of theta. Pause the video and do that. Unpause when you're ready to check your work. Your hint here is that since this is not on the unit circle, we're not going to go to our calculator. Draw a triangle. So now pause the video. Okay, so if I draw a triangle, if secant of theta is 4, then the hypotenuse over the adjacent side equals 4. Therefore, the opposite side is root 15. I get that by the Pythagorean theorem. So now I find the trig functions. Sine of theta is root 15 over 4. Cosecant of theta is 4 root 15 over 15 when I rationalize. Cosine of theta is 1/4. Tangent of theta is root 15. Cotangent of theta is root 15 over 15 once I rationalize. Next one. The terminal side of an angle theta in standard position passes through the point negative 4, 9. Determine the exact values of the indicated trigonometric functions. Pause the video. Do this. Unpause when you're ready to check your work. Okay, so we plot our point on our coordinate plane, draw a triangle from that to the x-axis, emphasizing the reference angle, and then label our sides. Negative 4, 9, this becomes the square root of 97 from the Pythagorean theorem. So then I find the sine, it's 9 root 97 over 97 once I rationalize. The tangent's negative 9/4, and the secant of theta is negative root 97 over 4. Alright, last one. If you're standing 400 feet from the base of a building and the angle of elevation to where you're standing, the top of the building is 29 degrees, how tall is the building in feet? Round to 3 decimal places. Pause the video, do this, unpause when you're ready to check. Alright, so we draw a picture. It's going to be a right triangle. Here's our angle of elevation, distance from the building, height. Write a trig equation. We're going to use tangent and solve.